Hey, you legendary tower runners, welcome to the Tower Running channel. Welcome to the show called Tips for the Tower Runner. And in this, we will provide little tips and hacks that will help maybe help your training or your races in a stairwell. Today's show is called Follow Your Nose, and we'll get to what that means in just a second. So, the great thing about tower running in the northern hemisphere and in the United States is that when the weather's the worst out, when it's crummy, when it's freezing cold, is when tower running races are their hottest. You start looking about mid-January through March, and you got races all over the country every weekend. It's just a rich environment of great races. How cool is that in the wintertime when people in other sports dare not get outside? There's an inherent problem with that for the athlete and for the tower runner, is that because we are indoors more and we're using heat to keep us warm, of course, there's a problem is that heat dries out the indoors. Now, more towards the southern states, the systems are forced air systems where they have an air intake that pulls air in, goes through a heat exchange, is heated, and then it blows out through the your home or apartment, condo, and that really dries out the air. Farther north, you have baseboard heaters and radiators and even underfloor heating, and that works better, not drying out the air, but still, in wintertime, it can be a very dry environment, and that's hard on the human body. The human body likes about 40% humidity. So for a tower runner, for an athlete, and generally we race earlier in the morning, this can be a slight hindrance because you wake up, and this is me personally, I will wake up and one day my sinuses maybe feel like I'm all clogged up with dry junk, and where'd that come from? And trying to get that out, or it might be I'm kind of swollen, or for some reason, not sick, but it takes a little while to kind of get everything cleared out. And if you're at a race, that's kind of a distraction because you're trying to do your pre-race rituals of what you do to get ready for a race and warm up, and then at the same time you're trying to clear your sinuses because as we know, we need a lot of oxygen when we're doing a race. Let me give you an example. We'll use the top man and woman tower runners for 2016 at towerrunningusa.com. That is the ranking system used in the United States to rank everybody. But we'll take Alex Workman and we're going to take Stephanie Huckle. Now, we're going to compare them like to a car. Now think about your car, most cars. You have an engine and it needs fuel, and most times it's gas and air to make that engine move. Well, our bodies, basically our muscles are our engine, and we have fuel from eating food, and then we have to have air to help convert that energy that is stored in our body to power so we can get up the stairwell. So let's take Alex and Stephanie again, and we'll compare Alex to a Dodge Challenger with a Hemi. That's how Alex is. This guy is a muscle car of a guy, man. He gets up, you floor it, and he smokes the tires, and he goes. And we'll compare Stephanie to, let's say, a Mustang Shelby GT, sleek and powerful. So you take these two cars. Now, if we put them on the road and we completely covered the air intake so that either the engines could not get any air, well, what would happen? Of course we know what happened. The car would just lurch and die out. Now, let's take Alex and Stephanie and have them cover their nose and mouth completely and try to run up a stairwell at a race. Well, they're going to get a couple of flights and then they're going to stall out too. So now let's take that. Say Alex and Stephanie, they went to a race in Chicago, dry environment, woke up, both of them a little bit kind of clogged up, and maybe they're down maybe just 3% power-wise from this distraction. Well, think about it. At 3% to top-ranked athletes like that, could mean a difference from first place to second, third, fourth, or fifth place. Seconds matter. Now let's take the rest of us from their level down to from elites and competitive and your casual climber. Well, that length of time from a few seconds will keep growing wider and wider as you go down in your performance level. So that can mean a difference between where you place and how you do your race. So 3% is a big deal, and you don't want to go into a race 3% down because your sinuses are clogged. So here's a simple hack or solution to help keep your sinuses cleared up. So the best thing you can do is just get a saline nasal spray. Now all it is sterilized water with a little bit of sodium. There's no decongestant in it. When you go to the store, it'll say saline nasal spray. You can use it all the time. If you fly on a plane, you can take this with you. It's under 3 ounces. The bottle is smaller than 3 ounces. It's a great way to keep your sinuses moist. And the great side benefit to that, especially in the wintertime, is when our sinus, the walls inside our nasal cavity dry out, they crack, and that's where the viruses and bacteria and things like cold and flu can get into our system. So it's also a great way to help keep you from getting sick during the wintertime. Now, it also comes in a nasal gel, and you can just put some on Q-tip for one nose and another on Q-tip for the other nose. In fact, you know what? Let me demonstrate for you, and so just so you know, here, look.
No, don't do that.
No, don't do it. Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, you guys can figure that out. Both those things are great to use. They're inexpensive. Now, I will tell you, don't try substituting tap water for this. Make sure you get something like this, a sterilized water, and you don't have to. You can just I just get the store brand, the generic brand. It's cheap insurance. So, okay, you've done that. Now you come to race day. Now, here's the thing about tower running is we have to look at other sports because we just don't really have the library of knowledge within our sport. So we look at other sports, take what we can learn from them, and then apply it to our sport. Now, I do the bulk of my training for tower running doing road cycling, whether indoors or outdoors. And I also enjoy watching road cycling events like the Tour de France. And if you've ever watched one of these events, when the cyclists are warming up, they'll put their bike on a trainer, a resistance trainer, so it doesn't go anywhere, and they can warm up. And you'll see them with these little cotton balls stuck up their nose as they're warming up. And if you don't know, it's like, what are these guys doing? Well, what they use to help clear their sinuses is called OBES oil. Now, OBES oil is several essential oils, and they just put some drops of that onto a cotton ball and breathe it through their nose. It comes in a glass bottle, so you have to tap it on. Now, this is what I use. What I generally do is I put some on a cotton ball about 2 hours before a race, and I just breathe in on it for about 20 minutes and then take them out. I don't do it while I'm warming up. Now, I'm going to have to warn you, though, if you have small kids or children or maybe an adult that doesn't see very well, maybe an aging adult that's living in your house, I probably would not get the oil. You do not want a child to ever ingest this stuff. It's bad news for a kid. And also, there have been people that thought these were eye drops and put them in their eyes. And boy, that's a bad thing to happen too. So really, I would say don't get the oil, but there's a great alternative to that. And OBES makes a inhaler. Now, you can get that at Amazon, and Whole Foods Market keeps them in stock at their stores. Otherwise, it's kind of hard to find. On the back of the card, it says it lasts about 3 months. I've noticed most people say it lasts about a year, but even if you got about 3 or 4 months out of one of these, if you're using it for a race or working out, a small investment to help keep your sinuses clear. But again, with any of these kind of things, with the oil or the nasal spray, there's no child safety caps on any of this stuff. So if you do get any of these, make sure it stays out of the reach of children. There are a lot of choking hazards here. But that's what I've used, and I found it works really well for me. Even if you don't go with the OBAS oil, the nasal spray is a great thing to use. And maybe if you use that, you'll find you wake up in the morning before a race and your sinuses don't bother you at all. So that's the tip for today. So make sure you follow your nose, because you always will in a race. So here's the question of the day. Have you run into this problem at your races? And if you did, how have you come about solving this? If you've come up with a solution of your own, put it down in the comments, whether on the Facebook group sites or on the YouTube channel, and let me know how you solve this problem. So we look forward to having more tips for you in the future. And as always, the next time you go to your race, make sure you have a great climb, hopefully super fast times, and we'll see you at the top.